Thursday, July 10th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we talk about a lot of nothing, and then we talk about standing in line.
Let's do this.
You know, there's really one bad thing about spending the weekend at the beach is that once I spend a few days not at the beach, I once again get to that point in my life where I decide, wait a minute, why don't I just go live at the beach? I could afford it, get some crap job, and just be a beach bum the rest of my life.
Beach bum is on the list. It's actually relatively high on the list of, careers. I mean, beach bum is a non-paying job. It pays nothing. Yet it is above in my list of jobs, sort of like safety jobs. It's like if I fail at this job, I'll go down to this job. I fail at that, I go down.
Yeah, it's like for us, it's IT, entertainment, underwater welding.
Underwater welding, I was about to mention.
And then beach bum.
And then, beach bum comes above many paying positions.
Because think about that life. I lived that life for a short time when I went after RIT and all that co-op and business. Me and Scott went with Scott Johnson down to his beach house. Then I lived there for a while. You know what? I could deal with that life. I could
deal with that life when you don't have the house.
The thing is, you just live in a shithole near the beach, and you sleep. In a lot of places, those people just sleep on the beach.
The thing is, they have a beach patrol.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't live in. If I was a beach bum, I wouldn't go to Wildwood. If I was.
Which beach would you go to?
You go out to California, one of those crap
where
beaches.
They have beach patrol.
A lot of places you can be on the beach at night.
Yeah, you know where? Cuba, you can live on the beach, and many
Not
people
just
do.
Cuba. Besides, there's different levels of beach bum. I mean, are we talking about I have no money and no job and am basically a hobo?
Yes, you're a beach hobo. Only the difference is hobos do things. Like there are hobos that run pirate radio stations, and hobos also travel. Bums tend to not travel, they work less, and they drink more. Hobos travel more, they work more, but they don't really make money, but they sort of do things, and
I mean, another
they
way
stab.
to put it is hobos are...
And sing.
You could look at a hobo. Some hobos, I read an article a couple of years ago about this emerging class of hobo by choice 20-somethings who just quit college and just kind of bum around.
Yeah, there's homeless people that go to libraries and write blogs. They spend a lot of time in libraries or beaches or other public places, and it's all kinds of homeless action going on.
But no, there's different levels of beach bum. I mean, the level I'd look at, that's high on the list because
the dude level.
Beach hobo is very low on my list. I would be college campus hobo before I'd be beach hobo.
I'd be beach hobo before I was college campus.
No, think about it. You go to RIT, right? College campus hobo. Of course, they've probably cleaned it up now, but back in the day, there were showers, bathrooms, and all sorts of stuff in those tunnels that no one ever went down there. You could pretty much live down there if you wanted to.
So, actually, when I was in Florida, right, the hospitals there, you would walk, they had this on the front desk of the hospital when you walk in, there's this ball of stickers, and they're the guest stickers, because you go in, they give you a sticker that says guest in your name or whatever, and then when you leave, they take the sticker and they make a ball out of it, and it's a big ball. And I walk in with my grandma, and she just keeps walking right past the desk, doesn't stop. We didn't get any stickers, and no one cared. No one looked at us. We walked right into whatever room we wanted to. No one said anything. No one cared. You could just totally go in the hospital, free, just walk right in from the street and do whatever you wanted, and no one would stop you or talk to you or anything. You could totally just walk in and find an empty bed and probably order food.
That wouldn't work. You could probably get food. But you could probably find somewhere dank to sleep because most hospitals have a whole bunch of side infrastructure tunnels and things.
If you go to an
empty
room and there's no one in there and no nurses come by,
you realize that in pretty much every metropolitan area, finding an empty bed in a hospital is pretty much impossible.
If you're talking, okay, but in the hospital I was in Florida, half the beds are empty.
What kind of hospital was it?
It was a normal hospital, just completely normal.
What do you mean completely normal?
Well, it had an emergency room section, and it had a, staying overnight section.
All right, that doesn't help. I realize asking you what kind of hospital is.
What kind?
It's
a hospital.
It's like asking a non-computer guy.
It was not a specialist.
Do you have a risk kernel or a sys kernel?
There was no specialist action going on. It was
you're better off going to a college campus because I would have a hard time differentiating a lot of hobos from a lot of the people I knew at RIT.
I guess that's true.
Especially considering that half the people we hung out with at RIT were not students, were well over 25, and just happened to live in the area.
Then again, if you get one of those hospital gowns, if you can just get the gown on, then they'll be like, where did this patient come from? And they won't be able to identify you, and they'll freak out, and something will happen.
I know what'll happen. It involves police, but...
Hey, I wonder what the sentence is for faking hospital stay.
I don't know. I think if you're faking the hospital stay, you've got more things to worry about.
Wait, will they send you perhaps to the psych ward of the hospital, which is where you're trying to
You
get
don't
anyway?
want to be in the psych ward of the hospital.
Why not? It's a bed.
No.
They'll come in, they'll be like, are you insane? I'll be like, yes, I want a bed. Woo! And I'll be crazy. I'll pretend I'm crazy, and I'll just get to stay in the bed.
I've been in those psych wards. You do not want to be in those places.
Yeah, everyone else is crazy, but I'm in my own room.
No,
sleeping.
you're not. You don't get a private room.
Why not?
You share with other crazy people.
That's not fair. How do they expect crazy people to get uncrazy if they put them with crazies?
Don't.
Why? They got to separate the crazies, or else they're going to be more crazy.
Look, it's a complicated issue, but all I will say is the 4
you know
or
what
5
happens
times
when you mix
I ended
crazy
up...
and crazy? More crazy.
No, it's like when you multiply 2 even numbers and 2 odd,
Yes, you got to put each crazy person on their own, or else they will not be uncrazy.
But the one time
that way I can
very
pretend to be
specifically,
crazy and get a bed.
I got, I had the gigantic I am not crazy armband that is not removable from me so that I could get out of this place. And I get in there and I find the network closet and, I don't really see anyone around. So I open the network closet. I go in and
There's a crazy guy in there.
Oh, God. I've found some scary shit in network closets sometimes. I'm glad I don't.
Sarcophagi, bas reliefs.
I did open one once and find some guy asleep in it.
Was he a technician?
No, I don't know who he was. All I remember is I quietly went in, did my business, and just shut the door behind me.
He didn't say anything?
No.
You should have poked him with a stick.
I didn't want to deal with that.
You should have thrown the bas relief at him.
I really didn't care. But no, so I'm working on this switch, and I feel a little eerie.
You sure it wasn't a mummy?
I turn around, and there is a semicircle of like 11 of these people just staring at me outside the door. I'm completely trapped and surrounded.
Why did they let the crazy people walk around?
They just wander the halls. There's usually,
Why?
It depends on what kind of psych ward it is.
Uh,
So they're all kind of standing around.
if
So
they
I
knew
look.
you were there, they should have put them in their not hallway.
They didn't. They don't care. The people who run the psych ward are like, have fun, and then they locked me in.
Great.
I had to go to the airlock to get back up. But anyway, when I say beach bum, I mean go live cheaply right near pretty much a year-round beach.
The problem is beach close property is stupidly expensive.
Not always.
What?
You can live near beaches in really dumpy, crappy places. Often you'll be living semi-illegally.
Semi-illegally is okay.
Yeah, like you work at, like, say, a bar near the beach, and then you agree to pay some pittance to be able to sleep in the bar when it's closed at night.
Or you could just, sleep in the hospital. Or you could, what's that guy who would get drunk and arrested every night?
Oh, what's his name? The hero of FARC.
Yes.
I forgot his name.
Just get every night, just get stupidly drunk from the money you begged or danced or sang for, and then get arrested. And
I
then
would
sleep
rather work...
sleep in the local jail, and then they let you out in the
Scott,
morning.
That's a level below the kind of beach bum I want to be. What I would do is live cheaply, like in a bar.
What's cheaper than free bed at the local jail?
I would rather have my freedom and just sleep in the bar.
You only lose
plan.
your freedom at night.
No, that's not how that works.
You go into the police station. It's not like the big jail.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, we lock you up. Okay,
Scott,
we'll
your
let you
plan is
out.
crazy and wouldn't work. My plan
it's
is
like
much
that
more
show
reasonable.
with the old TV show. What's it called? With Barney Fife.
Oh, the Andy Griffith show?
Yeah, just like that. That's what it'd be like. They'd lock you up, and there was the drunk on the show.
It's not like that.
He got locked up, and
It's
then they
not
let
like
him out.
that at all.
It would be exactly like that.
All right, fine. Here's the deal. Next week, we'll both go out to Southern California somewhere. You get arrested every night. I will find a job at a bar and see if I can crash there after they close.
Well, you will get the
see.
job at the bar so that you can provide me with the alcohol to get arrested.
I will provide you with as much alcohol as you want.
All right, and I'll just give it to like some kid. I'll get her go to jail for one night, and then I'll be let out.
We'll see how that works.
Because I'm not going to drink it, but you could drink it.
Okay.
Actually, that would actually, if you got the job at the bar and just drank the alcohol, that would get you in jail for the night.
No, it wouldn't.
Why not?
They really won't jail you unless you're driving drunk.
I just want to be, not just being really drunk in public doesn't do it.
Well, it depends on the place.
Vomiting in the, I go to the playground. That's a good place.
It's probably not going to work. Besides, I would rather just have a job. That's the whole point.
But then you're not a bum.
Yes, I'm a beach bum. Beach bum is a very specific thing that has nothing to do with bums.
No, it has a lot to do with bums.
No, because there are beach bums, which are actually above beach hobo. I'm talking about dude.
That's just a surfer dude.
No, you can be a dude beach bum, too. The only difference is you don't have a future.
Well, you need a surfboard.
They're cheap.
No, not really.
I'll learn, yeah, they're cheap.
The good ones are real fancy.
I wouldn't have a good one.
Then you wouldn't work.
They work okay.
No, it wouldn't.
I went surfing once. I fell over. That was the end of that.
Because you still had a crappy surfboard.
No, it's because I didn't know how to surf and I didn't get a lesson. I rented a surfboard in Florida, my all rented surfboards, and I went out and I didn't know what I was doing and I stood up on it twice.
I'll just get the the ski-doo and cut your surfboard in half and go wee.
Beach bums can't afford sea-doos.
I didn't say I'd be a beach bum. I said you would be.
I feel like I want to be a beach bum because
All right, well, I'll see you.
all right, wake up, right? Every other day, go to the beach, fall asleep. Wake up again, go swimming, come back to the beach, fall asleep.
You know what I see in the future life of the beach bum? Skin cancer.
You know what I see? Sunscreen. It's not that expensive.
Also, winter.
Let's go to Southern California where it's always 76 degrees.
Anyway, I think we've run the course of this discussion.
This discussion didn't really go anywhere.
No, not really.
I can say one thing, though, at the beach, I, for various reasons, bought the SPF 15 instead of the SPF 30.
Why?
Because I kind of wanted to tan as opposed to just not burning.
Yeah, I don't really care about tan. I care about not skin cancer.
You know what? It worked real well. And actually, using that sunscreen as opposed to all the other ones I've used, this is the first time I've ever gone to Wildwood and come back without a sunburn. First time ever.
Usually I only get sunburn, from not applying often enough or not applying to every spot or that sort of thing.
Or always the last day, let's go to the beach real quick before we get on the road. We don't need sunscreen. I'm not going to burn. Shit, we're all burned now.
It really has nothing to do with the SPFs.
Well, the one thing I noticed, though, is I put it on a lot more because it was the SPF 15, so I kept putting it on.
Oh, that's definitely what it is then.
But at the same time...
Because I tended to put it on once a day, and then late in the day it would be worn off because it only lasts a few hours.
See, I'd always avoid putting it back on.
And I'm too lazy to keep putting it back on.
Because I actually wanted to tan a little bit, so it'd be really hard to not just burn. But now with the 15 or the 4 or the whatever, I'll just kind of slowly tan the whole weekend.
Anyway, I got to shop around because there was that study that said, don't stop using sunscreen, but they're not as effective as we thought they were. And then there's this chemical that's in the sunscreen that's not sold in the United States that supposedly is amazing.
But we haven't verified that.
But I haven't verified that. I'm saying supposedly. 'Cause I read something like last year that said some chemical is used in all the sunscreens in all the world except in the United States because it's not FDA approved.
Yeah.
And it's super amazing and awesome, and we just don't use it here because we're stupid or something like that.
There's also the scam of SPF 90.
Yeah, that's just stupid also. So I'm going to do a lot of research and figure out the best suntan lotion, sunscreen, whatever.
Well, sunscreen and suntan lotion and sunblock are 3 different things.
I know, but I'm going to buy pretty much the best one of those that my research tells me to, and then I'll buy a big one and then use that.
It's such a shame because on one hand, 1/4 of my family has a history of skin cancer, but on the other hand, I really like laying in the sun. Like, it might, maybe, there might be some sort of genetic correlation because... Maybe my desire to lay in the sun is what caused relatives of the past, my ancestors, to all die of skin cancer.
Yeah. I think I'm also, next time I go to a doctor, I'm going to have them check out all of my mole freckle things. Just, why not?
Yeah, you are more moly than me.
Yeah, I got one on my neck, I got one on the back, and I got the one on my upper left chest that's been there for like 1,000 years.
See, one thing I've always been happy about, I've got very few moles, and the ones I do are very, very small and benign. Like, the biggest one I've got is like half the size of an eraser.
That's,
like a pencil eraser, not one of those gigantic erasers.
Yeah, the one on my neck is about that big. All right. Anyway.
Wow, that was talking about nothing. That's what you get for Thursdays. especially when we're tired. And Scott's whining because I turned off my air conditioner.
It's a little hot in here. Do you want to talk about all the conventions and stuff? We're going to still do that?
I guess we could. It's Thursday, so it's kind of the night, which is kind of weird because a lot of people listen to like Tuesday and Wednesday like together. A lot of people listen to the whole show. But a lot of people listen to just Thursday. So you guys miss out on a lot of the kind of other things we talk about. So news-wise, I just kind of want to point out that for the month of August, we're going to be doing live shows all over the place. So if you wanted to meet us, August and then one weekend in September are pretty much your best bets.
Yeah, so in the month of August, in the very first weekend of August, which weekend was that?
The 3rd, I think.
The first weekend in August, I'll get the calendar for you in a later show, is Connecticut, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in
the first, the
Hartford,
second, the
Connecticut,
third.
in the Hartford Convention Center. It's pretty.
Yes.
It's the only big convention center.
We are going to be there all weekend doing, we haven't got the final list yet, but we're going to be doing a ton of live shows on Saturday. And on Sunday, we're going to be running games. We're going to be running some Burning Wheel.
Yep.
We're going to be running some, teach and then play sessions with some of the more hardcore board games where we'll actually...
There's a wicked awesome gaming room at Connecticut, and even when we're not in there, we have some front row crew associates who will be in there rocking games for pretty much the entire con.
So if you like anime or video games or webcomics, any of those three...
Or even video games or
Board
there's a
games.
miniatures gaming room in there, and I swear there's the same old guys every year go in there and play a miniatures war for the whole weekend.
I really like Connecticut because it's not really an anime con. It's just a geek con, straight up, and it doesn't really pretend to be anything else.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of anime styling on the face of it. And I guess the majority of the crowd is sort of the anime con-ish fan crowd, but it's not really a big con. It's sort of just the right size. You can be comfortable, and most of the merchandise in the dealer's room is anime con type merchandise. But it's got some comic book action going on. It's got gaming, a really awesome game room.
Plus, Connecticut's really cool in that's the con where they let us test new events there. So when we're going to do a new live show, we come up with, hey, what if we do a panel about Semprini? All right, well, let's put it together. And then we do it always for a test audience at Connecticut. And that's kind of the place where they really let us play around with formats of things. And it's worked really well for us.
Yeah, it's because it's so small and such, it's really easy to, sort of have our run of the place. And
kind of the example I would give is if you see at one of our live shows at Otakon or Penny Arcade Expo or any of those Baker Katsucon, they're kind of chair facing forward. We give a talk. We teach you something. We do something. Connecticut is we're sitting backwards in the chairs, kind of just chilling and talking with our crowd.
Yep.
Hey, so we're talking about this. What do you guys think about this? What would make this blah, 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 blah? Hey, great to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. So the weekend after Connecticut, the second weekend in August, is the Otakon.
Otakon is pretty much the best anime convention in America.
Yep.
There's
and
no...
we've been to it for the past 6 or 7 years, every year.
I've paid for one Otakon. Good God. We've been doing panels there.
I think I've paid for 2 or 3, but that's about it.
Yeah, because you didn't jump in on that Anime Club Summit action as quickly as I did.
Not really my bag, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that was my first foray into doing panels for those club summits back in the day, but... Otakon, we're actually doing 2 panels this year, which is kind of cool because they denied a lot of people panels, and yet they gave us 2.
Because we're awesome.
Yeah, well, being panelists forever, you figure. But we're talking about, should we reveal what we're talking about?
Yeah, why not?
All right. What are our panels?
One of the panels...
you don't remember, do you?
One of the panels is the panel I've wanted to do for a long time, which
Look,
is
we're doing Know Your Creators.
Exactly.
Where we talk about, people who create anime and manga and studios and directors and composers and all these things.
We're not really going to go in depth on any particular creators. The idea is that a lot of, people out there who are anime fans, manga fans, they don't pay attention to who makes their anime, to who makes their manga. They couldn't tell you, they could name maybe 3 anime directors. They could name maybe, 3 manga artists. Whereas, they could tell you if they also like movies or, American live action movies or books, or they could tell you who directs all of them, or they could tell you who all the actors are. They could tell you everything. So how come not with the anime and the manga? So it's to encourage people to pay attention to that. We're going to do a panel sort of telling them who all the big names are.
I mean, think of this. When we're big in the anime convention stuff and anime podcasting, but when I first met Daryl Surratt over at Anime World Order, when I was slightly drunk at Katsucon.
Yeah, they're sort of to blame for this thing because, I was one of those people who didn't pay attention at all.
I didn't pay attention.
To who made anything.
And then Daryl Surratt comes up to me and he puts a recorder in my face. He's like, can you name anyone who directs anime, I think, other than Miyazaki? And I was like, Ikuhara and
Tezuka.
that other
That's
guy.
That's all I would have been able to say back then is those, and I might have been able to say Oshii. I don't think I didn't even know Satoshi Kon at that point.
Yeah, but now we've met him. I've touched him.
Yeah.
That was a good experience touching Satoshi Kon. I hope to do it again someday.
Was he smooth?
He was so smooth and deadly.
All right, smooth and all right. So yeah, and the other panel where
Anime you should see.
yeah, which is sort of this generic kind of blah panel of hey.
I don't think it is at all. I don't know. But the thing is, Scott, in the internal Geek Nights, Scott is pissy and down on pretty much every panel we ever do.
What are you talking about?
He always complains, we shouldn't do that panel. We shouldn't do that panel more than once. That panel's lame. That panel we should
What are you
completely
talking
rewrite it.
about? The point, the only thing I was about is, anime you should see is an okay panel.
It's
just
an incredibly important panel.
The principle behind it is sort of generic, and I was also kind of because they wanted us to do the Gekiga panel again at the New York Anime Festival, even though we already did the Gekiga panel at the New York Anime Festival.
Even though we're running it basically completely differently at this point.
It's not completely differently.
And also, yes, it is.
It's mostly, it's only a little bit differently.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, the point is that it's not every panel. All the other panels are awesome. And Anime You Should See is still an okay panel because we're awesome and we can make any panel awesome.
I just don't get, panels like that. Why is generic a bad thing?
I didn't say it was a bad thing. I just said it was generic.
And
It's
not at all.
It is.
How is it to talk to people, to pick any medium, any genre of thing, like, you're into board gaming, and you just give a talk where, all right, all you nubs, you're new into this. Here's all the important games that no one will ever tell you about. You won't find out about unless someone actually tells you. I guess
it's just not a very glamorous panel to be running.
Oh, so glamour is what you're after.
Yeah, perhaps.
Besides, I point out that
Majesty, perhaps also.
If you're going for glamour, those are actually the panels that get the most traction are like the game shows and the generically titled panels.
Those are glamorous. The game shows.
How are they more glamorous than this in terms? I mean, the crowd's the same. We get a gigantic yelling crowd.
Special guests making the game show glamorous.
Yeah, getting like Peter Fernandez.
Yes. If they had a special guest at Anime You Should See, instant majesty. All right. 2 weeks after Otakon. So Otakon, then the weekend after that. Oh, it's Labor Day weekend, the last weekend of August. Penny Arcade Expo. Plane tickets to Seattle are purchased. Hotels are reserved.
Yes, also, we are going to be at the Penny Arcade Expo.
We're going to land in Seattle Thursday night, go to bed, wake up, go to PAX.
We're going to be in town until like Monday night. So.
Yes, then Monday night, so late Monday night on Labor Day, we're going to leave town. So all of the Monday after PAX on Labor Day, we're going to hang out Labor Day in Seattle.
So, West Coast listeners, unlike Penny Arcade, who seem to avoid the East Coast, we're going to be on the West Coast. If you want to meet us, truck up to Seattle.
That's going to be your only shot, because I've never been west of Novi, Michigan before in my life.
I was the one who drove Scott to Novi, Michigan.
I'm not going to be west of the Mississippi for many a year.
Until recently, when I flew out to Arizona to see my mom, and I hadn't been west of Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, I've been east to Israel, which I guess is the middle of the East, but I've never been farther west than... Novi, Michigan.
Yeah, but we're actually doing an event at the Penny Arcade Expo called Beyond Dungeons and Dragons.
We're going to be talking all about, all the indie RPGs and the RPGs that are not like D&D and other D&D-like RPGs.
And I'm going to say one thing now, and if this sounds cool to you, because I think this sounds really cool, but we're going to begin, like, the kind of the brief bit that we're going to introduce this panel with is, and I title it affectionately, A Brief History of Dungeons and Dragons as Told Through Its Character Sheet.
Yep. I think that's a good way to. We should also toss in some character.
Oh, they will. I've already put
character sheets from non-D&D games, like throw in a Shadowrun character sheet.
I've already got all that together. That I'm so proud of that little presentation.
Yep.
That little 5-minute bit.
That's a good way to start it off. But basically, the thesis of this panel is. You guys out there, you might like comic books, but there's indie comic books that are way cool, right? You like video games, obviously. This is Penny Arcade Expo. There's indie video games, like indie PC games, and they're always way cool, right? But when it comes to role-playing games, what do you like? Dungeons and Dragons. There's indie RPGs, man. You got to be paying attention to that shit. And
also, Thursday listeners who might think of role-playing games and either picture scary White Wolf people or scary D&D people. There's other kinds of people.
Yep.
Especially crab people.
And that's the convention lineup for August.
Yeah, and then in September, New York Anime Festival, we'll be doing 3 panels there, and then,
Oy vey.
Yeah, it never ends with us. Our con season, though, is pretty much late July, early August through end of September, and then it kind of cools off until Katsucon in February.
Yep.
And yeah, we're going to be at Katsucon 2009 in DC, so...
Crystal City.
Yeah, well, DC.
Right.
Crystal City is not a separate city.
Why does it have the word city?
Crystal City is the name of that mall that's connected to it.
Anyway, so that's the convention news there.
Yeah, so if you want to see us, go to one of those events and you will be practically guaranteed to meet us. We're incredibly hard to miss at a convention.
There are some other events we may or may not attend, and we may or may not run a small event of some kind. It's in the works, but for now, that's it. That's all we got.
Well, that was kind of random. I guess we'll just do some things of the day and then get on with it.
Yep.
Get on with it.
Get on with it.
So,
what's all this then?
This is one of my reserved things of the day, but it's something I've known about forever. I always saw links to it. I never really went to it. I finally went there the other day, and I ended up wasting about 2 hours on this site. It's passive aggressive, and the idea is, sometimes someone's so passive aggressive that they won't do something about something. Like, I don't know, your roommate eats all your food. You don't say, hey, roommate, get the fuck out, or hey, roommate, stop eating my fucking Cheerios, you ass. Instead, you write a little note saying, please stop eating my stuff, and you stick it where you know they'll see it. Avoiding confrontation, that sort of thing. Nothing is funnier to me than reading those sorts of notes.
Alrighty.
This website is a place where if you see a note like that, take a picture of it and put it online for everyone to enjoy.
Most of those are probably fake, though.
No, actually, a lot of them are very clearly not fake.
How could you tell?
Because the kinds of notes that are on this site are the notes that I've seen many, many a time in the real world.
Alrighty. Give me some example notes.
I don't have any up here. What do you want from me?
An example note?
A lot of them are notes that like a company will put up, like someone stole someone's lunch, so someone writes a note like, to the person stealing the lunches, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, okay, I could see that.
Or a lot of times, most of it's like half people in businesses writing notes because they're afraid of confronting other people at their business.
Yep.
The other half is college kids who just never learned how to confront people.
Yep.
And then I guess the other 1%, rounding that's not accounted for, are the ultra hilarious, just like crazy ones that have all these follow-ups.
But there have to be fake ones on there, right?
People do a good job of verifying them, it looks like. Because a lot of times there'll be follow-up threads and people will like, here's what happened the next day, or here's the response note, or
yeah, but someone could just be really good at telling a story.
Okay, fine, maybe one's fake. Great.
Maybe
you
one.
You
maybe
win the
one
internet.
is fake.
Seriously, go read the site. I get the impression that these are almost all. I would guess that 90% of these are legitimate.
Whether they're legitimate or not, they're. But the point I'm trying to get at is whether they're fake or not. If they're funny, what does it matter?
Case in point, the classic "Hey crackhead."
Hey crackhead, that's great. Oh man, that was the thing of the day? That was an early thing of the day.
I'm sure that was the thing of the day.
I don't know if I use this as a thing of the day or not, and if it's a repeat, I don't give a shit. You've probably seen this if you're on the internets at all. It's basically office war. Now, when it comes to things like water balloons or Nerf or, other sorts of non-lethal toy weaponry, everyone from when they're a child to even when you're grown up a little bit, you imagine having really elaborate, well-adjudicated battles with these things. Like when you're kids, you always have a water balloon fight, but you never have you always really want to have a serious water balloon fight with shit tons of water balloons and you have bandoliers of water balloons and the whole thing going on. And you actually want people to say, have some sort of rules of winning and losing. And there's some appeal to that. I don't understand what it is, but it's a desire I know I've had and I know a lot of other people have also had. So
I have a vision.
A vision?
I have a vision of everyone in the front row crew agreeing to an arsenal, all buying a standard loadout of Nerf equipment, and then going nuts.
I think Tribes 2 is a much better idea. But anyway.
You know what? We have a better chance
cheaper.
of pulling off the former.
No, perhaps. I say perhaps a lot today. So Nerf, they Nerf for a while, right? I don't know if everyone, I'm sure everyone listening knows about Nerf, but Nerf basically makes foam toys.
I don't think you need to explain
Most
Nerf.
of that, and they're famous for their foam weapons, in addition to their foam footballs. Mostly the foam weapons, and for many years, their foam weapons have been sort of subpar because of overprotection of kids and all that sort of bullshit. The Nerf weapons you could buy in the store were not what they were when we were kids. The selection is decreased. The power and accuracy is decreased. The quality of the weapons overall is decreased. I mean, there's no Nerf bow and arrow anymore. What happened to it, Meanwhile, the original Nerf bow and arrow kicked ass. It was like one of the best toys ever made.
I remember they were so hard to get that over Christmas, my brother got one.
It's like Nerf bow and arrow is like on the Super Soaker level of toy.
But I didn't. I got a knockoff Robin Hood bow and arrow.
Ah, useless.
My parents knew. It's just, what are they going to do? One of the kids was going to be disappointed.
Just don't buy anything and then wait until get a rain check.
And deny us a Nerf bow and arrow?
Well, no, is you give one, you say, I'll get another one as soon as I can.
Yes, and you know how long it took for those to be back in stock?
That's what it takes. Anyway, so Nerf, I guess they're attempting to make a comeback, which is fine by me. And what they've done is they've done something that's actually pretty extraordinary. Number one, someone at Nerf must realize what makes Nerf awesome, because they realize that people want to have these organized, people have this fantasy of organized, serious, total all-out Nerf war. They realize this fantasy exists, and they made a video that sort of works towards fulfilling that fantasy or stoking the fires of that fantasy. Two, they have re-upped their equipment, it seems, because in this video, there are many, many awesome Nerf things. For example, the Nerf sniper rifle, something which used to be only made in the homebrew arena, is now an official product. They've got the Nerf, electronic minigun with the chain of suction cup arrows.
I had the old hand crank minigun. It was the last Nerf item I ever got. And while it was awesome, the belt feed was prone to jamming.
This is basically like a Maxim machine gun of Nerf, right? And when they pull the thing out, it's like, oh, man. And
see, I remember the biggest fantasy I had early on as a kid was when I started getting all these Nerf guns was I wanted a pistol that I cocked and then fired instead of a kind of bow action. And they made that back in the day.
Yeah.
Almost right away.
I had the ones that hold 3 arrows, and you wouldn't conk and fire. You would just, sort of like those...
it shot those little black arrows.
Yeah, the water guns that work by suction, you sort of fill them up, and then you pull the two ends close to each other. As like a shotgun almost. That's how this worked, is you would pull the front of the gun forward and then pull it back, and it would just the force of your arm would push the air to shoot the arrow.
I had that. It was my sidearm. What I also did was I learned is those little black arrows, if you threw them like a knife, they flew perfectly.
They were really the most aerodynamic arrows.
I love those arrows.
But anyway, they've also got Velcro things going on and the whole bit. Now, the other thing that Nerf has managed to do here with this video is not only advertise their products, stoke the fires of, a fantasy that many people have, etc. This is perhaps the first example I've seen of someone intentionally attempting to make a, viral video that's also an obvious advertisement. Because, it has to be an advertisement because there are unreleased Nerf equipments in here, and the video production quality is very, very high. And the quantity of equipment could not be had unless Nerf provided it. Is that they actually made a good thing. It's like, this is a good video. And they made it on purpose.
Yep, it's entertaining.
When have you seen...
There's one other time in my life, and it was also recently, when we were at James and Lisa's wedding. There was also Stanley Cup playoff action. So, we're watching hockey in the hotel room instead of hanging out, because that's what you do. Actually, we had everyone came to our hotel room, we all hung out. Yep. And then the hotel guy was like, you can't all sleep in this room. And we're like, we're not gonna. Go away.
We're just watching hockey.
Your hotel sucks.
It sure did.
God.
We should have stayed at the motel, whatever, right next door.
Sure did.
All right.
And this ad came on, and this ad was so funny.
It was a good ad.
Not only did I watch it and like it, and seek it out on the internet to watch again, but maybe
Did you find it?
I found it. I don't know if it's still on YouTube. I'll find it again and post a link. But it's basically this guy, and he's like in the maternity ward, and there's all the babies behind the glass, and all the parents are there. And
the nursery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking, And then suddenly he starts banging on the glass and screaming and yelling and just blah, 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 blah. And then he starts pointing at all the other babies. He's like, you suck, you suck, you suck. Best baby ever, right there, best baby ever. You suck, you suck. And it was just, it was such.
That's hockey right there, banging on the glass, pointing at everyone in the other team saying, you suck, you suck, you suck.
Best baby
and
ever.
then pointing at the guy on your team and saying, oh yeah, awesome.
It's funny how sports commercials in general seem to do this. Like, sports commercials understand the fans of their respective sports better than almost any other advertising I ever see.
Yep. And this is a this Nerf viral intentional commercial meme thing actually works and really understands the feeling that us kind of people have for Nerf.
So, Scott, tomorrow, what are you going to be doing in the morning?
Waking up too goddamn early.
Yeah, why is that?
Because I get one of those stupid iPhones. If I don't get one tomorrow, who knows when I'm going to be able to get one?
Man, we need one for our company because we got to test it because, pretty much we all want to switch to it, and we got to make sure we can do all the same things we do with our BlackBerries with the iPhone and the Exchange integration and all that. So, we had to draw lots to see who's going to stand in line and get an iPhone tomorrow.
Well, I mean, if that's what you want to test, you could have just gotten a first-generation iPhone and upgraded the software on it, and you'd be the same exact thing.
Yeah, but basically because they announced all the Exchange stuff after the first one came out, and we want the newest one anyway, so...
I mean, of course, you want the newest one, but,
yeah,
to test the Exchange stuff...
There were a few ways around this. However, this is the most fun way.
Yes. So anyway, I'm going to go wait in line. Now, the question is, which line do I wait in?
I would go to an AT&T store because...
There are AT&T stores. There are Apple stores. There's multiple of each in Manhattan. There's even AT&T stores up here in Beacon area.
See, if I were you...
There's an Apple store in Danbury, Connecticut I could go to.
It's obvious. If I were you, what I would have done is long ago taken the day off work and just camped out the AT&T store up near here because... far fewer people are going to try to camp that thing out.
But the supply will also be lower. For example, if I go to the Apple store in the city, sure, I might wait 2 hours. But they probably have a few thousand iPhones in there, so I'm going to get one.
Scott, the Apple store, how many people do you think are already lined up?
Probably
right now.
Right now, it's actually quite surprising. There's probably less than 200 there right now.
I don't know.
I went to an AT&T store in Astor Place, and I said... how many iPhones are you going to get? And of course they said, we don't know. Okay. Then I said...
one.
No. Then I said, last time when the first iPhone came out, how many people were there in line outside? And she said, about 250. And I said, how many of those people got iPhones? And she said, all of them. So that makes me go... you see? You just have to learn to ask the tricky questions. This is why I have a tiny bit of journalism skills.
Of course,
not much,
we failed
but a tiny bit.
When we were trying to get sensitive information out of the people for that World of Warcraft miniatures game. We were like, so how's the game work? We can't talk about gameplay. So suppose I'm playing. Can't talk about gameplay.
But I think they were just much better at not answering questions. They actually use judgment, whereas this person just only, didn't answer the one question they weren't allowed to answer and answered every other question.
Also probably didn't care.
Still,
knowing people, most people probably don't even realize they can go to an AT&T store.
The other thing is that at the AT&T store, the people there were actually friendly and knowledgeable. It was quite...
yeah, unlike the Apple store where they beat you as you walk in.
No, but I'm saying is I'm compared to say what you would expect from an average wireless, store.
I can say this. I went to
the wireless companies as evil and stupid.
I went to the Verizon store the other day.
Remember how it was in the Sprint store for you?
Oh, I could do a whole Monday on Sprint.
Right.
And
so because I'm going to be waiting in this line tomorrow, possibly with my boss also. Because his trio, he went swimming with his trio by accident. So now he's thinking about iPhones, even though he always complained that it didn't have a real keyboard. But
once, a long time ago,
now he's asking me to text message him when I get in line.
When I was very drunk, I ended up showering with my phone in my pocket, but it didn't hurt it.
All right. But anyway, so yeah, because of this waiting in line that's going to happen tomorrow, we'll talk about the iPhone itself, 2 Mondays from now, when actually I've had a lot of time with it and such. But I figured we could do it Thursday on waiting in line, because we've waited in quite a many line.
The biggest thing you have to know, we've learned this lesson very, very powerfully, but we had a chance to meet someone very eminent once.
See, I think actually in the episode where we talked about this, we discussed waiting in line, which is why I feel like we've done a waiting in line episode before. But if we haven't done a waiting in line episode, if we have done a waiting in line episode before, oh well, sorry.
But
I gotta wake up early.
We decided, let's camp out, and then this will be awesome. And then we kind of both bailed because neither one of us really wanted to camp out. And why don't we just wait till morning and we'll take an early-ish train in. Don't have to take the first train in. Yeah, our real lives will get in the way of this awesome thing. And we ended up totally failing as a result.
The thing is, we were actually pretty close to succeeding. There was
but we didn't want it enough.
Nope, we didn't want it. And that's really, when you're waiting in line, there's a decision-making process that happens. And you have to weigh three things, right? How badly do you want, what are you going to get for waiting in line, right? How badly do you want that thing that you're waiting in line for, right? And then how long do you have to wait in line to get what you want? Because, some lines, you just wait in them and you're eventually going to get what you want. Like, say, if you go to Cedar Point, if you wait in a line to ride a roller coaster...
Oh, no,
you're going to ride it.
No, that's not always true. Not at all.
Didn't they close the park and then they cut off the line?
No, because, you see, oftentimes a particular ride, for various reasons, some rides are more prone to this than others, will break down. And what happens is this incredible calculus where I'm in line and I see that the line has not moved in a while, and I look up and I see some people abandoning the line as word spreads that the ride's down and people are trying to guess when it'll come back up.
This is why when you're in a long line for a ride, you spread a rumor that the ride is broken down when it has not.
Here, see, there's the reason that doesn't work is that canny people who go to amusement parks, you don't pay attention to a rumor that comes from the back of the line. And no one in the front of the line has any incentive.
It's true.
Granted, the real trick is just to cut. Because I'll admit this, this is horrible, but the majority of people are too passive to actually do anything about it if you cut in front of them.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about cutting. It's like, you cut in front of, let's say you cut in front of an asshole, right? He'll be all like, rabble, 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 rabble. So you say, all right, man, just chill. Then you just cut, a little bit in front of that. You're not cutting directly in front of the asshole. Somehow he has no problem with it. You can't, even though the effect on him is the same, he's still one spot further back in line.
See, the thing is, Cedar Point actually did something really good. If they caught someone cutting in line and they did have people who were semi-undercover watching for it, they literally dragged you out of the park with no refund immediately.
Yeah, that's a good...
And I watch it happen a lot. Of course, I also cut in line, but I was candy.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, right? All right, well, cutting in line, obviously, you want to try to pull off cutting in line if you can, but you don't want to cut in line to the point where you have to suffer the consequences. That's
Are we gonna explain how to cut in line? It's a very specific process.
I will tell you, the best line cutter in the entire universe is my grandmother.
See, she has an advantage being old.
Well, no. Even when she was not old, she would, right? So we're in line. I know she's used this skill many times in movie theaters and other places, but it was only demonstrated to me at only one occurrence that I can actually remember, even though I have stories of other times when I wasn't there. We were at, I believe, Madame Tussauds Wax Museum in New York City. This was like many years ago, perhaps even a decade ago. I don't know. And there's a line. And my grandma, we weren't in the line, right? But the line is sort of going down the street. We were just sort of standing on the sidewalk. And my grandma just strikes up a conversation with this complete stranger in line. And at that time of my life, I was not the type to converse with a stranger. But my grandma has no problem just talking to anybody.
That is, in fact, the best way to cut in a line.
And she just starts talking to the stranger and walking with them and talking and walking and talking. And we're inside and we didn't have to wait in the line. And I'm like, all righty. Sure.
The way I often did it was partly because one of the pastimes in my high school was to skip school and go to Cedar Point whenever it was warm out. So a lot of times I'd end up at Cedar Point. Like I just kind of cut out of high school and drive down to Cedar Point. And there'd be a lot of people from my high school there independently of me. So this one time, the Millennium Force, when it was the tallest roller coaster in the world, they built it. And it's like this epic thing. And I'd been looking forward to this since they announced, like Intamin was like, hey, roller coasters and all this business. So we show up and we get into the park like a little bit late.
And there's a huge line.
Huge line, not even in the turnstiles yet, because the rides don't start right away when the park opens. So people are lined up, and I see that in the very front of this line is my good friend Adam. So I walked by, and I've got a huge group of people with me because we all cut class the same day, kind of random. It wasn't senior skip day. It was just, we just all skipped. So we're all walking in this big group, and if I had tried to just do it by myself because other people were so pumped about it, we totally would have gotten busted. But this giant group with me in it kind of stops next to the line, and we all talk, and then the line starts walking in, and you saw this moment of decision, and like 3 or 4 smart people, including me, in this mob that was standing next to the line, took quick action and slipped in the chaos. And everyone else kind of stood there going, hey, what's going on? Hey, where'd you guys go? But then it was too late.
Yeah, that's how it's done. So the thing here, right, we've discussed how to cut in a line. What do you do when people are cutting in front of you? Because
you say, get the fuck out of line.
Yep, and if you see people cutting way ahead of you, you say, hey, you, get the hell out of you cutting.
Exactly like that. That's you have to go, hey.
Yep.
At least in New York, there might be a different way of doing it out west.
If you do so, we've said people are most people don't want to have, a confrontation, right? So if you, cut in line, they won't confront you about it. But at the same time, if you confront someone who is trying to cut, who is non-confrontational, they would rather give up on their cut than confront you.
Also, you can usually call down the threat of something because there's always the external force.
Yeah.
Like in the Nintendo store line, if you raised a ruckus about someone cutting, Nintendo would have come out and dragged him away.
Yeah, what it really comes down to is how well the line is enforced. A very poorly enforced line is pretty much bad news. That's really what it is. A poorly enforced line, a line without, management, is pro cutter, and a line with lots of management is pro anti cutter. So if a line is going to have guards or, official people making sure that everything is legit, then you want to get there early. If a line is going to be just sort of willy-nilly, then don't worry about when you get there because you just cut.
Yep. Now, bonus points if you cut in line and then within a short span of time prevent someone else from cutting in line by raising a ruckus and no one confronts you about the hypocrisy.
That is a classy move.
That is a goal in life.
That is something you should definitely do.
Of course, one of my favorite things to do in line is to bother other people.
Well, that's another thing about lines. The line is not just about achieving what you are there for.
Well, for a lot of people it is.
Even though that is the number one thing.
For a lot of people it is, and that's the problem.
Yep.
A lot of people, if you have to wait in a line somewhere, I mean, this could be applied generally to any time you're forced to wait for something, but lines in particular. A lot of people, one, don't bring any means of entertaining themselves.
It's definitely something you got to do.
And thus, all the time spent in the line is wasted.
Yep.
And two, a lot of people will only see the prize at the end, the goal of, I'm going to get a thing, and this line is my means to it. But especially with geeky stuff like iPhones or like the Nintendo Store thing or an Anime Con, the line is a self-selected a self-selected set of people.
Yes,
who
you can form.
Have
you have
similar interests.
Yeah, you have a line. There's almost this line culture, this line community that builds and then is dispersed. It's like a temporary family, and it's really something special. And if you're not gonna take any part in that, really, you have no place waiting in line. At least not for a long amount of time.
Of course. Watch out, because it's very tricky. So, I mean, we were in the line of the Nintendo store.
It really depends on who you're in line next to.
It was pretty much us and the area there were other cool people our age, but all the people in line right near us were punk kids. And they were like punk kids that were barely sentient.
Yep.
And the conversations that we had with these kids were not, shall we say, enlightening.
No.
And I remember we tried to play Advance Wars with them, and that just did not happen.
No, it didn't. And there were some cool people near us, but they were mostly quiet, and their DSs ran out of batteries.
Yeah, the one guy who was like, oh man, I love Advance Wars, I'm undefeated in my group of friends, and we were about to play, and his battery died immediately.
Huge taboo, having any of your devices run out of battery power in a line.
I'll give you the hint. If your laptop's about to run out of battery, don't be like, shit, my battery, or don't let it just run out. just be like, I'm done with this laptop. I'm going to relax and kind of shut it down gracefully like nothing's wrong.
Yes, you don't want to let anyone know that your batteries ran out because that is taboo. That's like one of the worst things you could do.
I guess other than stabbing.
I guess stabbing's also bad.
Of course, there's also the danger of, it's like anime cons has happened to us, where you're in line and the person in front of you may be cool, you're trying to talk to them, but the person in line behind you is one of those people.
One of those fanboys who keeps bothering you and is annoying.
I like Naruto. Do you like Naruto? I love that
that's
episode
great.
when
All right.
Naruto was talking about the Naruto.
Now,
Naruto.
if you encounter those kinds of fanboys out and about, it's easy to just run away from them or say see ya. But
yeah,
if you're
they're
in
like,
a
oh,
line,
I gotta go. What's your IM? I'll make something up.
In order to avoid them, you would have to like lose your spot in line or find some way to kick them out of line. Which good luck with that. So it really puts you in a predicament. And when you get in a line, you really have to decide, do you stand there and wait for there to be cool people and then you get in line? That way your line community is going to be good. Or do you just, is it you can't wait for the line to get any longer? You need to get in now or else you're going to miss out on whatever it is.
There's also the issue of do you engage or not? Because if you're in line, people will generally leave you alone unless you engage or put yourself in a kind of body language position where people will look at you and think he wants to be engaged.
Yeah, people by default in a line will just not talk, not interact. But as soon as, someone, tries something, then some interacting might happen.
So
but
are you
no
gonna
one
be
will
the
try
guy
to interact
who
with
starts
you.
talking right away like, woo, we're in a line. Hey, guys, what's going on? Da-da-da. Because everyone will start paying attention to you. You'll get this little kind of crowd around you. But at the same time, if anyone undesirable joins that crowd, there is no safe, socially acceptable way to reject them.
And also, if someone doesn't want to interact, they're not going to, and no one will try to no one will force them into interacting. If you just stand there quietly and just mind your own business, no one will bother you in a line. They'll just ignore you.
So basically, here's the quickie. If someone you don't want to talk to keeps engaging you in a line and you're trying to engage other people, don't, be like, oh, you suck. Don't yell at him or anything, or don't do anything active or aggressive because, while we said, passive aggressive doesn't really work, you don't really want to hurt the feelings of the person in line behind you because they're only going to bother you the rest of the time.
And if you do something to get rid of this annoying person in line, you might succeed, but you will also guaranteed make everyone cool in line near you uncomfortable, which is not good.
Yeah, so what you do is if they're talking to you, you like face them and listen to what they're saying, and then rotate your body about 15 degrees off axis from them, probably to the right. Like if you're facing them, kind of have your body, your shoulders being 15 degrees away to the right from facing them. And still look at them, but don't make direct eye contact, and limit your responses to answers and kind of acknowledgments, but don't...
Just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh. But
Yeah,
don't engage further. And that is pretty much the safest, least harmful way to disengage from one of those people. And then after you've been doing that for a while, as soon as they engage anyone else for a moment, engage the person you wanted to engage, and everything will be nice and neat and you're done.
Yeah, you can sort of, when as you sort of, pay less and less attention to them and interact with them less and less, they might eventually latch on to someone else and bother them, and then you can interact with someone else.
If you're evil, you can force them off on someone.
Yeah, you can make a split, basically. It's like you have a group of 4 people. One of them is bad. Well, you foist the bad one off onto, say, the 4th one, and then you keep the 2nd one, and you're all good.
I gotta say, though, the DS has revolutionized line waiting for me.
It sure has.
At least in geeky situations, because you're gonna find people to play DS games, and there's so many multiplayer DS games.
Yep. The iPhone is also going to be wicked awesome for the line waiting. I can tell already. Of course, it sucks to wait in line for the iPhone, which would have really helped out while you were in line for itself.
Yeah, just bring your DS.
I'm bringing the DS, the laptop. I'm going to work right afterwards. I mean, the line is right next to my office, so how can I? I gotta pretty much wait in line, go to work. So.
Yeah, the only reason I'm holding out on the iPhone is because I gotta make sure I'm not gonna get it unless I can get rid of my work BlackBerry and use it as my only wireless device.
Yep. I don't have a work BlackBerry to worry about, so here I go.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I gotta got a Curve from work, and the Curve's pretty nice. and
Also, the App Store, which we're going to talk about this in a week from Monday.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
what else about line waiting can we say?
Well, I have a bunch of stories about that time me and a bunch of my friends drove this woman insane in line at Cedar Point.
That's
we
all right.
we made her actually like completely freak out, and then they actually escorted her out of the line, and it wasn't even intentional. We were being very annoying, but it was not like I'm doing this to drive you insane. I'm just being annoying because I'm bored.
Well, here's some general line tips, all right? If there are multiple lines, right, get in the shorter one. Now, that might seem like an obvious thing, right? But it usually isn't. For example, you might go to an amusement park, right? And there is a water slide, and there might be a tower, and there might be multiple water slides on the tower. But one of the water slides is a much shorter line than the others. It's probably because that water slide is scarier than the others, and people don't want to get on that.
No, it's usually because it's weaker.
Nah, from my experience, the scarier ones often.
From my experience, the higher up and faster and crazier it was, the longer the line was.
Really? Because when I was at Six Flags New England, there's a tower, there's 2 blue slides, and then 1 green slide. And if you wanted to go on the green slide, you basically just walked up right past everyone and said, green slide, green slide, green slide, and then went down the green slide.
See, I think a better set of tips are the how to make the line interesting.
Those are good, too.
Because the way we drove this woman insane was we're in line at Cedar Point, and one, get in line with a group of friends, and you cannot go wrong.
Oh, yeah, because you bring your own crew. You can't lose.
Because, like, when I was a little kid, and we'd get it, like, I'd be in line with my family or something for a roller coaster at Cedar Point, and the line was always hot and boring, and oh my God, I just want to ride the ride. But once I had a car, and I started driving down on my own, and it was me and all my friends, it was like, all right, the line is not time wasted, because the whole time you're in line, your whole group of friends is together, just hanging out. And then suddenly your hanging out is interrupted by a roller coaster. So
There's the line for the front of the roller coaster.
yes, which is almost always worth it, unless you're a roller coaster freak, in which case I recommend, unless it's a hanging roller coaster, you want to sit in the front of the last car. That is pretty much the best seat in any non-hanging roller coaster.
Yeah, sitting in the back of any car is not so great.
Well, if you like a rough ride, the back of the car is fine.
I'm not a fan of the back of the car.
Because the front of the car is kind of ballasted or balanced by the connection to the car in front of it. But anyway, all we did was I'm standing in line, all these people in high school were in line for this roller coaster, and there's the metal turnstiles. I just start idly chinking a quarter against it, like ding, 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 and I keep doing it. And then one of my friends starts doing it, ding, 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 and then all of us kind of start doing it, ding, 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 ding. And then this woman's like, could you guys stop that? That's really annoying. We're like, all right. And we kind of stop. But then someone further down the line starts doing it.
Oh, man.
And then someone else starts doing it. And then the whole line's doing it. And they won't stop. And it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going.
Did you start doing it again?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
At that point.
All right.
After we laughed because we realized what we had wrought. And then this goes on for a good 5 minutes. And then this unrelated woman who's there with her family, it looks like, just starts screaming at everyone to stop it. And that just makes it get louder. And then it goes crazy and they took her away.
Oh, yeah.
I felt bad about it, but we stopped when someone asked us to. And it's sad, but it's also hilarious that some other guy was like, oh man, and started doing it right away.
Well, that's really, that's sort of like doing the wave, It's a very basic concept of group psychology, is that the more complex thing you want to get a group to do, the more people you want to do it, the harder it is. But if you want to get more people to do something, your best bet is to have many people do a simple thing, and then it is easier to get a large number of people to do it. For example, you're at a baseball stadium. You want to get everyone to do the wave. Pretty easy. You want everyone to chant, let's go team. Pretty easy.
You want everyone to chant EDXDXCI, secant, cosine, tangent, sine. That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. With as the number of people increases, the harder it is to get them to do something complex. So if you're looking for, deep, complex conversation, the people next to you are it. That's it. It's as far as you're going to get.
So thus,
but if you want to get, say, a little chant going on, like, phone. Phone. You could probably do that with the whole line.
And it's a lot of fun
And
to do that
either
sort of
one,
thing.
either one of those activities, either good conversation with the people next to you or
Because
entire
remember,
line chants are equally
a
valid and
long line
entertaining.
will become a mini temporary society. And if you were the
The
one...
longer it exists, the more indentured that society will become.
Yes, and especially like in roller coaster lines. Like the cool thing was Cedar Point, like there's pretty much at night when the line was like 2 hours long because, everyone got in line for like one last ride and then it's all night long. They'd have DJs and music and the line was like, you'd get to know a lot of these people in line because the turnstiles keep passing the same people all the time. So we'd play a game. I forget what we used to call it. I think we called it Pulling a Jesus. I don't remember why. But basically, make sure that you're talking about something really weird every time you pass this like one person. And they'll eventually notice.
In a back and forth line.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like, turned out Jesus was gay. And then, yeah, I met him the other night. He was a pirate. And then the nukes fell. Oh, my God. And just go nuts with it.
Mm.
Yeah, the other option is to just completely like bother people, but that's not my bag.
You know what really gets me about lines, I'd really like to know more about, is how when you finally sort of achieve what you were in the line for, you go in, you buy your iPhone or whatever, you ride the roller coaster, and then you get out of the line, even though you're still next to the people that were just like your closest line friends. Like, the whole line culture is destroyed. It's, like, completely eliminated.
It's like at the end of Lord of the Flies, when you suddenly wake up, you're like, oh, it's just a bunch of kids.
Right. It's like if I got, like, as soon as I get that, let's say tomorrow I make really good friends with the person in front of me, right? I go in, I buy the iPhone right next to them. They're checking out at the checkout next to me. I buy an iPhone, they buy an iPhone. We both go out in the street. It's like we're complete strangers again. Maybe we'll get a nod. That's about it, and then we're done.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
But within the line, like, you can become the king of the line while you're in it. But then that's gone when you leave the line. The way to become the king is to be the person that starts the first chant, or the first game, or the person who instigates a long-running game of penis.
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 We're not going to play this on the air.
Some cool kids were playing penis on the train a week or two ago.
They were.
It was good.
I didn't join in because I feel like I'm a bit beyond that, but at the same time...
I had an urge to join in, but also an urge not to join in.
Yes, because it's like on one hand, I ride this train as a businessman, and that would be really annoying. But
I wanted some way to show my respect for their game of penis without having to play.
also, I did not want to engage them because, again, they were also drunk, and once you engage someone, it's difficult to disengage.
That's true. But I wish there was somebody to show my, like, nod of approval for their game. Like, I approve of this penis playing on the train without actually involving myself with them.
Maybe geeks need a symbol we use, some sort of, like, a gang hand sign that's, I do not wish to engage with you, but I approve of what you have done.
Yes, like, you're the awesome, or
Maybe something like this.
you for the win.
We'll just go like that.
The shocker?
That's not a shocker.
Why are you putting up the shocker?
It's not a shocker. That is a shocker.
Why are you giving the shocker?
As horrible as a shocker is, it was a horrible thing, but the fact that
shocker!
I don't know how it became such a funny thing, and not just in our RIT hockey culture, but geek culture. Like, people make shocker jokes all the time, and I don't know why it
Shocker
became so...
is not just a geek thing. It's a joke in general.
But it's like a lot of geeks have latched onto it. Shocker jokes hit FARC like crazy to this day.
Yeah, it's the shocker. Who got anything else to say about waiting in line?
Shocker! Nah.
If you want something real bad, and the only way to get it is waiting in line, if you want it badly enough, you're going to get in line early enough to get it. If you don't want it badly enough, you're not going to get in line early enough to get it. You might as well not get in line.
Bring friends or entertainment. Enjoy the line. Look at the line as an experience to have fun. If you're not having fun, you're not in the right kind of line, or you're not a line person.
If you're not a line person, just don't wait in any lines and just, get your iPhone
if you have
next
delusions
week or
of grandeur,
a few weeks from now.
Attempt to become the king of the line, knowing that you have effectively engaged everyone in the line.
The best trick, right? Better than becoming the king of the line is becoming the shadow king of the line, in which you are in control of the line. You have started the chants and such, but no one actually recognizes you, or you don't stand out as the king of the line.
That's kind of like playing solitaire. It's like, I took over the line.
Yes,
Me.
you're in control of the line, but you don't stand out. You're just one of the crowd. No one notices you or anything. But
if you have a friend who's in the line somewhere else, here's a good game you can play. Both of you vie to become kings of the line.
That's a good one.
That's a real good one.
I stand like 100 people in, you stand 200 people in, and then we prearrange, like, this is the chant I'm going to try to get started, and this is the chant you're trying to go get started, and we see who gets which chant started, and then maybe the line will have some sort of what's it called? It might get a little partisan. It'll be like it'll be two kings of two different kingdoms in a war.
I keep saying king of the line. I guess I should, because this happens.
Queen of the line?
Like, king of the line is something very specific, quite you, that happens. Hey, if I can be anything like Freddie Mercury, but anyway, I'm not going to wear those vests.
Why not?
I don't know. I don't like that. That's not a good style on me, I don't think.
I think I could wear that yellow vesty thing. I just have to wear a shirt.
But king of the line is this very specific phenomenon, and you'll know when someone has achieved it because they'll have done something and the whole crowd, like maybe they yelled something out funny and then the whole crowd like looked at them and laughed. And you see this in sporting events too, like the king of the section, where the one guy yells the clever thing and then everyone, like whenever there's a situation for the rest of the line, for everyone who remembers, or the rest of the game, where someone should yell something out, you'll notice that half the line will look to whoever was the king of the line, expecting them to say something.
Oh, I got one more thing to say about...
They'll get an automatic audience.
Here's one more thing to say about lines, right? Not only should you bring something to entertain yourself with, if you're looking for action in the line itself, bring social currency with you.
Yes.
Costumes are the best social currency in a line. For example, if I show up tomorrow dressed like Steve Jobs with a little turtleneck and jeans, totally gonna rock the house with that. Someone should do it. Another good idea, show up to any line. It doesn't matter what the line is for. Dress up like a Jedi. It doesn't matter. Dress up like a Jedi in any line, it will work. And if it's a Star Wars line, dress up like Star Trek with Spock and some Spock ears will always work. Wookiees work in any line also.
Wookiees.
Mario and Luigi, they work in most lines.
Or just, have the clever t-shirt.
Of course, yeah, clever t-shirt is good. If you're not going for the big costume, I tend to go with the clever t-shirt. Typically, you want to go with a rare t-shirt, something people haven't seen before. If you have the same funny t-shirt as everyone else from, Think Geek, it's not going to work. But if you get, a rare shirt that's sort of from some weird internet site, like a webcomic that's not too popular, then you're going to hit it off pretty well. But yeah, get some social currency. Bring something with you, usually clothing or a costume or something that will get you some attention or be a good conversation starter, because that's the best way to get stuff going on.
Also, bring a drink.
Yeah, drinks are good. Another good example of social currency, especially like a video game line. Have a DS from Japan that's a different color, or bring an imported DS game with you, or something along those lines. And you'll get some conversations out of that.
So for the line tomorrow, of course you're going to bring that Apple G2. Just carry it on your back.
Bring my G2 with me to get my iPhone. No, I'm not. I'm just going to bring my usual shit to work. I'll have a funny t-shirt and my normal stuff. Digital camera, whatever.
If anyone out there listening brings an Apple G2...
Of course, I'm going to be whipping out my super Linuxy laptop right in the middle of all the MacBooks. That's what I got going on.
All right, this episode went nowhere. We're done.
We're done.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.